Salutations from Victory Field. Derek, it's as if we never left. Here we are at Victory Field where we have done so many shows, but it's great to be back here in downtown Indianapolis on what is a bit of a tropical day, right?
Yeah, you can say that.
It's a gold bond day.
You can say that a little bit. Yes, a gold bond day for sure.
That's a safe way of saying it, right?
The guys in the audience will know what we're talking about. A little bit toasty out here, but you know what? I think hot and sultry actually matches the branding of the show.
Okay.
Because when people think of Query and Schultz,
you know, people
it's
can
a
see
little
our
steamy.
legs. I'm glad that I wore
steamy.
shorts, but people can see our legs.
My calves actually look pretty good. I usually don't lift legs, but I just naturally have well-shaped calves.
Okay.
And I think people will notice that. Plus, they can see my sweet kicks, which match my Razor Shines jersey. The red, blue, and white.
Those are nice. Did you get those on a special somewhere?
They were $30 on eBay, yeah. I don't pay more than $40 for sneakers.
Speaking of specials, it's very special for us to be back here at Victory Field in downtown Indianapolis. This is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named Query and Schultz program here on ISC Sports Network. That is Derek Schultz. I am Jake Query. We are in center field here as the Indians are warming up behind us. Our longtime friend Rob Lynch working the cameras for us today. And Derek, there's a lot to talk about since we were last together. I meant to bring you, when I was just on the road, I was coming back from Nashville, I stopped and I bought literally an entire box of Tic Tac Mints. Because of the Coca-Cola flavored Tic Tac Mints, and you said you have no off switch, and I thought I brought them with me, but you're gonna have to wait yet.
Oh boy! Well, I'll have to catch those next week. But you actually were the ones that liked the Coca-Cola Tic Tacs.
They were good.
Right?
They're good.
You're the one that liked those. I was kind of on the Coca-Cola Tic Tacs.
Let me tell you the difference between the two of us, though. I bought them, and I literally bought like 9 boxes of them. Okay, so I bought these mints for Derek. But then I specifically put them in a like a hidden compartment of my car so that I wouldn't eat them during the entire drive down.
Oh yeah,
to
I've
Nashville.
done that before.
And I can't remember exactly where I put them.
Oh boy.
So they might actually be completely melted, and I might have one like 8-pound mint in the back of my car. You know, I don't know.
The good news is that those things, they don't really mint. They don't really melt. Excuse me. They're mints. They're small mints, but they don't really melt. So I don't think you have to worry about that as much, honestly.
That wind feels pretty good, doesn't it?
It does. Can
I wear my sunglasses out here?
The breeze is welcome here.
Is this? Hold on.
Nice.
Are we on television live right now?
Yeah.
Is this just audio?
Does my hair look okay, Rob? Because I was a little worried about the elements out here with the hair. Radio, you didn't have to worry about all this.
I'd like to know, who are our bosses? Can I ask the bosses if I can wear sunglasses? Because you have very sensitive eyes. Did you know that?
I guess Rakestraw? I don't know.
Rakestraw wore flip-flops to the Speedway during a live broadcast,
yeah,
so
that's
I might
true.
as well sit up here in a Speedo.
Rake will be here pretty soon.
We have plenty to talk about and a lot to get to, though, today.
We do, and, I want to focus on the happy because we're so thrilled to be back here at Victory Field for the first time in almost exactly 2 years. The last time that we would have done a live show here was August of 2019, back in the old radio days, and even predating you, Jake, because my career was ascending before I met you, unlike you with me. I did shows out here for 4 additional seasons before that. So literally, I did shows out here 08, 09, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Last year, obviously, there was no baseball, so you didn't feel like you were missing it as much, but we've really gone the whole season, and I did not step through those gates until a couple of hours ago for the first time. So it's great. It's one of those things that you take for granted. This is such a beautiful ballpark and such a crown jewel of downtown Indianapolis. And when you go 2 years without experiencing it, after going, I would never go more than 2 weeks without stepping foot at some point in this ballpark, you notice it and you miss it. So it's great to be back here with our friends. I saw Shane Rader and, we're going to have Randy Lewandowski on, Howard Kellman, our good friend, the longtime voice of the tribe that's going to be on with us, Cal Burleson, Bruce Schumacher, all these great people that are associated with this organization. It's great to kind of see those people in person again after a 2-year wait.
We've got all kinds of new T-shirts from the shop.
We got new shirts. In fact, I think Brian Kelly from the shop is going to stop by as well.
Okay.
And
what's on the far right here?
Cole Hawker,
okay,
the track athlete.
Yep.
Trace Jackson Davis, Eric Hunter. One of the Anthrops. I always get them mixed up. Jackson, right? Okay. Yep. Jackson, Drew.
David
There's
Bell.
been 800 Anthrops.
Oh, and then you have your own shirt now.
No, that's actually Colts PK1.
Here.
Rodrigo Blankenship.
It's blowing everywhere. You've got your own shirt.
It's good. Yeah.
Hold.
I will hold. I'm an adult.
Have you not done this before?
I can hold the entire shirt.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
This is working out
See,
well.
look, you knocked over the headphones.
Go ahead and hold the entire shirt, Derek.
Look at this.
Okay, yeah, it's going great.
All right,
That's
I'm
working
having
well.
No, I'm waving it because I'm excited. See? Okay, fine. Hold the shirt. God.
No, that's fine. You're the,
All right, you happy?
You and your little hands can
Jeez.
just go ahead and hold your schmedium.
There
Go
it
ahead.
goes. The wind died down a little bit. Look at that. That is a handsome kicker right there. That is beautiful.
So give me the rundown of what we have going on today.
So I do want to talk about what's going on.
People will be shocked to know we haven't talked in 2 weeks, and I have no idea.
I do want to talk about what's going on at Colts camp because today a very interesting development. Sam Ehlinger, who had previously been the second quarterback to Jacob Eason, now splitting reps with the ones. So Jacob Eason is still going to start the preseason game against Seattle, which is coming up here this weekend. But now you can say, I guess, Sam Ehlinger and Jacob Eason, QB 1.5 for both of those guys. They are apparently equals with where we sit today. So I want to discuss that. Edgerrin James and Peyton Manning getting their long-awaited Hall calls. Maybe not so much for Peyton. That was always a foregone conclusion, but certainly for Edgerrin James. The wild weekend in Nashville that you experienced firsthand with IndyCar, which I think had some successful things and then some not so successful things.
Very fair.
But I wanted to lead the show just kind of while we're on the race topic because we lost an iconic broadcaster yesterday in Bob Jenkins, but not only that, somebody that was a very close personal friend of yours.
He was, Derek, and I'm very proud of that fact, to be honest with you, that Bob Jenkins was not just a coworker to me, but Bob Jenkins, as Derek had mentioned, was a good friend. He was a good friend to a lot of people, and those of us on the IMS radio network. But the thing that made Bob Jenkins so special for everyone is the fact that no matter what capacity he was, whether it was when he started out as a music disc jockey in Indiana or before, and then ultimately became, a television host on ESPN, doing obviously, you name the night of the week, and they were doing races on there, and then Speed Week, and then ultimately the IMS radio network as the chief announcer before going and becoming the anchor for play-by-play. Derek, the thing about Bob Jenkins that made him so unique and so special and so gifted was the fact that when people listened to or watched Bob Jenkins, they felt like they were listening to or watching just their friend who was a fellow race fan, and that's exactly what he was. Bob Jenkins was somebody who had absolutely no ego throughout the course of his rise in broadcasting to ultimately getting to the ultimate pinnacle. Derek, he never lost sight of that first rung of the ladder, if you will, and he never changed from who he was in that very beginning, and that included when people were just making that first step on their own personal ladder. He was somebody that was right there with them to help them throughout the way. He was a dear, dear man and a tremendous broadcaster, and his loss is one that will be felt for a long time. But I also hope that we can kind of celebrate who he was and what he was in racing.
And it's weird because obviously here in Indianapolis, people think of him as the voice of the 500 for all those years and the epic call of Al Unser Jr. holding off Scott Goodyear in '92. But actually, from not being from here, and really the Indianapolis 500 didn't have much relevance in my life until I was an adult, until I was living here. The first introduction I had with Bob Jenkins was NASCAR '98 for PlayStation. I mean, that's what I think of, still, when I hear his voice, I think of sitting in my basement playing video games. That's what I think of before I think of the Indy 500 or any, and like you mentioned, he has this long track record of success where he did everything in motorsports for ABC and ESPN, NBC Sports, the whole deal. But I think it's interesting how somebody like that's that much of an icon, you talk to different people, they'll connect with them in different ways to different things instead of just one thing.
Yeah, I think that speaks to his versatility as a broadcaster and the fact that it depends on really what era you came up where you were first introduced to Bob. I think when I think about Bob Jenkins as a broadcaster, and for that matter, just who he was as a person, I go back to, Derek, the first year from a selfish standpoint that I joined the radio network in 2007. And Bob was back on the radio network after having been, and of course he would ultimately go back with Versus and become the anchor. But, he had been the anchor on television, he'd been the anchor on radio, and here he was, and he was back to doing a turn on the IMS radio network. And I was in the pits at that time. And I remember thinking, well, wait a minute, I mean, this guy's been at the very top. Like, why would he agree to come back into the only role that was open for him in the turns, which seemingly would be, a step down from where he was? He didn't care about that. And that's what immediately I admired about him, is the fact that to Bob, it was just simply about the fact that he was lucky enough to be at a racetrack, and he was calling races with the people that he enjoyed being around, and that's what was important to him. And one of the first races that I worked in terms of being in a turn with Bob was one of the MotoGPs. I think it was the first year of MotoGP, and Bob Jenkins was in turn 2 of the oval. Now, one thing about Bob Jenkins, he was terrified of heights, which is ironic because when it comes to his broadcasting career, he ascended to the highest level that you could go. But he didn't like heights at all, and he didn't like having to climb that ladder into the perch in turn 2. But that was the year where MotoGP, the outer bands of Hurricane Ike came through the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the race was actually shortened because of these terrible winds and rain. And I was on top of the pagoda, and I remember, and I can't recall if it was the intercom or the actual broadcast, but I think it was the broadcast. And all of a sudden, it's rainy and it's windy, and I hear Bob Jenkins say, well, the winds have come here in turn number 2, and I'll be honest with you, I don't like it at all, and I'm leaving. And he just, that was it. And he took off his headset, and he came down the ladder, and he didn't wait for clearance to do so. Of course, Bob Jenkins didn't need clearance to do anything at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But right then I thought to myself, oh, wow, like he's just another dude like the rest of us, right? He wasn't, but he was, and that's what made him so great. Derek, in the last year that Bob Jenkins was able to go to the Indianapolis 500 this past May, one thing that I think most embodies Bob Jenkins that race fans should know. Bob went to the Speedway along with his friend Scott Richards, who had been helping out Bob throughout his journey, and Scott deserves every medal in the book for that, and a job well done because Bob simply wanted help throughout his cancer journey, and Scott was there for him. And those of us that know and loved Bob will always be grateful for that. But Scott and Bob went to the Speedway, Derek, to get Bob's credentials. And Bob had planned on being able to come out to the track in the month of May. And there was some sort of a snafu or what have you, where for whatever reason, either they looked in the wrong spot for his credential, or there was a delay in his credential being immediately shown in front of the computer. So he walked in, this was just 3 months ago, and he said, I'm here to pick up my credential. The last name is Jenkins, of course, right? And so they look it up, and oh, wow, they're not here. Hang on just a second, Mr. Jenkins, let's look around. And Bob was terribly crushed and terribly disappointed to learn in his mind that because he wasn't working this year, he didn't get a credential to the 500. Bob Jenkins, who had been the voice of the Indianapolis 500, who had been to every race since 1961, spare 2 of them, whose voice is what you hear when you take the lap around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as a tourist on the bus, who has narrated the greatest moments in the history of the venue. Bob Jenkins thought it was a possibility that Bob Jenkins wasn't going to get a credential, because if he wasn't in a working capacity, in his mind, it would have made sense that he didn't get one. That's exactly who Bob Jenkins was. And of course, Bob Jenkins could go to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on any day of the year that he wanted. And that was made sure that it was possible for him to do so in the month of May. But the fact that he had the humility to, for a split second, think that could be denied to him personifies Bob Jenkins.
No, 100%. And that's actually a far departure from the IMS credentialing office story from, I forget what year it was, 2014 or 2015, when I went with you, and they asked you for your driver's license. And you said, don't you know who I am? And your face turned red, and it was a big scene, and security had to come in. And
typically, Derek, if I go in somewhere and they ask for my license, this is what I do.
Yeah.
There's
I just remember you slammed your fist on the table. I'm with the GD radio network.
I did not do that.
I just was, whoa. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I got you credentialed, didn't I?
Oh, true. I do
Lesson
take advantage.
learned.
I do take advantage of the perks, but you've created some socially awkward situations for me, no doubt.
Nonetheless, Bob Jenkins is loved by many, and that includes both Derek and myself. He will be terribly, terribly missed. He will not be replaced, but fortunately, because of the fact that he's a Hall of Famer and because of his contributions to the Speedway, his voice will be synonymous immortally with the world's greatest race course.
I'm glad he was here to receive that Robin Miller Award.
Absolutely.
At the Speedway, because that was a nice, I don't want to say send-off because that sounds morbid, you know what I mean? But clearly, with something like brain cancer, he knew that his time was running out.
To know that,
to at least have that moment, I think, was very special for him.
To know that how beloved he was.
Yeah.
And, look, it took like something like that for Bob to really grasp how beloved he was, because he was almost incredulous to that kind of love. Derek, you mentioned the Colts quarterback situation. I think it's interesting because, quite frankly, I don't think it's interesting. I think it's meaningless.
I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting.
It's interesting, but it's interesting because it's meaningless. In my opinion, Jacob Eason, Sam Ehlinger, okay, they're in a battle for, and then you got Hundley there as well. They're in the battle for who's going to be the backup quarterback. The reality is, if Carson Wentz is not able to go for an extended period of time, whoever's quarterback in the Colts is irrelevant. Because at that point, you probably punt on them being able to put themselves in good position anyway, right? I mean, the Colts have a very good roster, but it's a roster that still needs a stable, steady, and consistently producing starting quarterback. I don't know that either one of those two guys are simply going to be there to keep their hands on the wheel.
Yeah, I agree with your premise that if Wentz misses a couple of games, it's not really going to matter because Eason and Ehlinger are probably going to give you about the same level because they're on the same tier. They're both backup level quarterbacks.
Do you know that
especially at this early in their career?
Do you know that we have stuff now blowing all over West Street? Do you know that?
I know it is.
We've lost a lot of our props.
I'm not mad because the wind feels good. The breeze is nice.
It does feel
good.
A little bit. But like Chateau Kitchens, I mean, they gave us a fabulous hat.
Oh, did that go off?
And the Colts helmet has gone too. I mean, we're literally, if you're driving past right now on West Street, you're getting
bobbleheads
free
secured?
souvenirs. I don't know that they are.
Is Sage here? You can take Sage.
Is there a Jonathan Bender bobblehead?
Yeah, you'd have to worry about that.
Fragile.
One.
Yeah,
you'd have to worry about that.
That one's particularly fragile.
but I think it's interesting to see that, and Frank Reich said it today. Here, let me pull the actual quote because I want to, and I get it. It's coach speak. It's training camp, right? So people are going to roll their eyes at this, but I wanted to actually use the Frank Reich quote. Quote, it wasn't Jacob doing anything wrong. Sam just looked good, so we decided to split it up.
Derek, that's the thing.
The good news is they both look sharp today. We'll continue to split those reps.
Okay, two things. First off, nothing drives me more crazy. I know why people do it. I understand they have a job to do. I respect the guys that do it. The daily updates of like that last drive, Jacob Eason was 3 of 4. And okay,
I love it.
He's throwing an 8-yard slant.
I love it.
Great.
It's great information.
Yeah, okay. It's really important. Who was the guy every year, the wide receiver, Drew Haddad? Where is Drew Haddad now? Do we know?
That's a deep cut.
Yeah, Drew Haddad.
See, I thought you were going to throw out a Deron Carter or Deion Kane, your boy.
Drew Haddad in the preseason was Drew Pearson. Yeah. Drew Haddad in the regular season, working at Chick-fil-A, right? I mean, that's the reality. Oh, this guy's unbelievable. Okay, it's preseason. But in terms of Jacob Eason being pulled out and Sam Ehlinger being put in to the starting quarterback and working with the number 1 reps, I don't read anything into it because you have to cover all your bases, right? I mean, when you do any sort of a science experiment, what do? You put in all variables before you can determine what is the best possible outcome. They have to try all variables to make sure they're not overlooking something. That's all it is.
No, you're right.
If I were to take a day off and you were to slide in and do the show solo, right?
I did many times. I can and I have.
Right. And it does not in any way, shape, or form mean that they're going to just give you the show and I'm out, and vice versa, right? You have to make sure that you are able to cover all bases.
Yeah. You just have to worry because the Colts have a history of doing this, and then you put in Kerry Collins and the Bunsen burner explodes and your skin melts off.
No, but
you know what I mean?
I understand that, but Derek,
they've had some issues.
But the point being that with Kerry Collins, okay, they put in Kerry Collins and they knew right away this isn't going to work. So what do? You say, you know what? The year's over with. Somebody just manned the wheel for us. They kind of threw Curtis Payne as a sacrificial lamb to the wolves, right? Mm-hmm. But the Colts know, deep down, the Colts know, if Carson Wentz can't play this year, then the Colts suddenly are playing for, maybe they get in as a wild card, maybe.
No.
Right.
No, not without Wentz.
Right.
But we're still not talking about that. Wentz missing the entire season with where we sit today
Derek,
still seems extremely unlikely.
Let me tell you something. Carson Wentz has never, how many games has Carson Wentz been under center as an Indianapolis Colt?
0.
How many practices has Carson Wentz been under center as an Indianapolis Colt?
1.5, 1 3/4.
So every week that he misses of the regular season is multiplied by 2.
No, I don't
disagree. Because he's not in there in the preseason.
You're right.
Working on timing, working on cadence, working on all of those things. Peyton Manning, who we just saw inducted in the Hall of Fame, when he missed camp, it hurt him in terms of how long it took him to get going on the treadmill of the regular season. Carson Wentz is not Peyton Manning. So If Carson Wentz misses, he's ready to go in week 1. He might be on the field week 1. That means he's ready to go by week 4. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, look, they are going to assess who gives them the best chance if Wentz is only out a week or 2 to keep them afloat, and then hope, because they know that it's going to take Wentz a few weeks to get going. But if the year comes down to we are figuring out if the Colts' 2021 year-long starting quarterback is Jacob Eason or Sam Ehlinger, then what that means is they're looking at who's going to be a top 5 pick.
I still think it's interesting, though. Like, I am.
It's interesting because it's not interesting.
I am not shut off to the idea that Ehlinger or Eason could be maybe some, like, diamond in the rough. It does happen. I'm not saying that it's anything close to
And they have
likely.
a good roster. I will say they have a better roster.
It does happen.
They have a better roster to offset a quarterback loss than they did when Peyton Manning went down.
It's better than, like, I already know who Nick Foles is. I already know who Jacoby Brissett is. I don't fully know who Sam Ehlinger and Jacob Eason are, because we haven't been able to see them in actual game action, not even preseason action, much less game action that counts. So I think that level of intrigue is what makes it inherently interesting, even though I agree with your point that if this is going to be an extended thing for Wentz, they're screwed. And we've already talked about that on the show.
I mean, look, when Carson Wentz went down and Nick Foles slid in and led Philadelphia to a Super Bowl with obviously Frank Reich in his ear, at that point, Nick Foles had already been working in practices with that group and sitting in the quarterback room and in every meeting for the entire season. It's not like Nick Foles, you're just going to slide in here in late August when it's 90 and we got hats blowing around West Avenue, and suddenly, boom, he's going to come in and it's Super Bowl bound. It just doesn't work that way.
And I think and I don't mean
ambulance or fire truck. Call it ambulance or fire truck.
Well, I just saw it. It's an ambulance.
You got to look down to play the game.
No, I don't know what the game is. That's a dumb game that you just
The game is when you hear a siren, you determine what emergency vehicle it is. People at home can hear the siren, and they're wondering to themselves, I wonder if that's a fire truck or an ambulance. You can play the game, but you look down, and then because they have different cadences.
You know, to
like
be honest,
quarterbacks.
we're hearing too many sirens in Indianapolis lately, but maybe that's a topic for a different show.
That is a good point.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about the quarterback situation.
No, I was about to bring up a great point, and then you ruined it. No, I was going to say something that was really good. I'll circle back to what it ended up being.
By the way,
I don't even remember what it is.
Speaking of that, today I got
Nick Foles. Can I mention it?
I had a great point I was about to make.
Sometimes things in sports happen that are flukes, and it's just the way it is. It's just like life. Like sometimes you fluke into something. Like WIBC flukishly hired you to host their morning show. Why did they do that? It didn't make any sense, right? It was just kind of a fluke. And then after like a year, they decided, oh, okay, we're two. Yeah, we know what's kind of going on here.
Now, in my defense, Derek, I told them at the time, I said, listen, guys, I know that I'm hip and I'm cool, but if you think that 35-year-olds are going to get up at 6:30 in the morning to hear me talk about mortgage rates, ain't happening.
The false thing, it was a fluke. I mean, look at who he was in Chicago. He couldn't beat out Trubisky. Look at who he was in Jacksonville. He couldn't beat out Gardner Minshew. I mean, Foles has been terrible, really, the last couple of years. Ever since that Super Bowl run, he's been awful.
But what was the one variable that was there when he was good?
Right.
So
I get it.
What people get caught up on.
I combined Wentz and Reich into rights like Joe writes when I was answering your question, so sorry. We'll get that in post.
There is no post. It's live.
You're right.
Yeah, you can't get too hung up on it.
That's what sucks about the live shows, honestly.
Can't get too hung up on it.
We're going to have Howard Kellman join us here in just a little bit. Try playing good baseball. They've won 4 straight, 7 of 10.
Can I put my sunglasses on?
They're one game under 500 with where we sit today. And it's been an interesting year because there's been a reorganization of minor league baseball where, you know, we were used to not seeing the Iowa Cubs and like the team that's here tonight, St. Paul out of Minnesota, used to be in the old league, which I think was the PCL, the Pacific Coast League. And so there's been a lot of changes since we last talked to Howard and followed along with the kind of the day-to-day goings-on of the Indianapolis Indians. But I'm looking forward to that conversation. You know, we talked about Bob Jenkins being an iconic voice.
Have you been to
Howard
St. Paul?
is one as well. I've never been to Minnesota, period.
What?
I heard that St. Paul and Minneapolis are really cool.
St. Paul
like
is
a neat area.
St. Paul's the Meridian Kessler of Minneapolis.
Gotcha.
It's cool.
So like Midtown.
No, it's not. It's actually, I think it's right on the other side of the river. It's split by the Mississippi River.
Okay.
Which
well, we have a canal.
In the Twin, that's about what the Mississippi River is in the Twin Cities.
By the time it gets up there,
yeah.
That's about
it's not very
the
wide.
Strength of it.
Howard joining us next.
Yep, he's going to join us next, right here from the ballpark. And also, we're going to have Brian Kelly, the shop.
You're very smooth with
coming on with us as well. We have so much to get to, Jake, still today. We're going to talk more Colts. Darius Leonard getting paid, Edge and Peyton with their Hall calls, but some Tribe baseball when we come back here live from Victory Field. It's Query and Schultz on ISC Sports Network. He's going to use the bathroom here.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Meet Kate. She has a lot to juggle. Family, work, it can lead to trying days and tired nights. But we know Kate, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know at some point her space at a premium life may change. IMCU is here to help Kate and you find your space. Now, add on or remodel with an introductory rate of 1.9% APR on a home equity line of credit. Today, it's all about Kate. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
The final stretch of Indians baseball is here, but the sights and sounds live on at Victory Field. From the crack of the bat to the play at the plate, don't miss your last chance to cheer on your hometown team. Get your tickets today at IndyIndians.com.
Welcome back. It's Query and Schultz live from Victory Field. It's great to be at this gorgeous downtown ballpark as we get set for a Tribe homestand all week long, 6 games against St. Paul, and they're actually playing well right now. 4 straight and winners of 7 and 10, and on to join us to not only talk about that, but it's just great to see you once again, the longtime voice of the Indianapolis Indians, Howard Kellman. It's been 2 years since we've been back here in the ballpark, and as I was pulling up here and walking into the gates for the first time, it kind of hit me that it had been that long. Long time coming to get to see you in person again, so it's great to see you, my friend.
Derek, it's great to see you. I wish I could say the same about Jake, but no, it's great to see Jake also. Delighted that he's doing well, and we're honored that you're at the ballpark today. It's great to have you guys here. You're always welcome.
Howard, I'm curious, when you look at, coming off of, obviously sports has changed so much since we saw you last, but with minor league baseball being so obviously, shut down essentially because of COVID and then coming back this year, how long did it take for you to notice, if at all, for the players to get back into rhythm? There's so much that goes into the chemistry at this level, but yet, guys, it's a transient level. So did it really affect guys?
It did, and that's a very good point, Jake, because not all of them, but most of them didn't play last year, had no baseball at all, and it set their development back big time, and it took, I'd say, a good month to get going again. They had spring training and then that. So very good point, and it really hurt the players, missing a year of development.
Now, I've been out of the loop a little bit, honestly, Howard, because I was used to the radio days, the Indian sneak peek every night, where it was either you or Andrew, or back in the day, Will Fleming, or I guess even before that, Scott McCauley, kind of talking about the day-to-day of the team. But I looked at it and noticed that they had a nice week of baseball leading up into this homestand, but saw that Anthony Alford, who is a veteran when it comes at least to this level of baseball, who's been a great hitter for them all year, 27 years old, got the call from the big league club to come back up to Pittsburgh. So how much is that absence going to hurt in that Tribe lineup?
Well, he was a big bat in that lineup. From June 1st on, he'd been swinging the bat very well. He's prone to striking out a lot, and that was an issue in the big leagues. He was there at the beginning of the year, and then he started off slowly with us, but came on. A lot of guys in this day and age strike out too much. It's unfortunate. That's what the game needs to work on, to change, is all these strikeouts. Now you hear 10-year-old kids talking about launch angle and exit velocity. I asked our hitting coach, John Nunnally, how he feels about that. He says, we are not teaching that, but we have to unteach what kids have been taught in high school and in college.
Howard, let's be real here. I hear 45 and 50-year-old guys. I hear like guys my age talking about the launch angle and all that kind of thing. I'm curious, when you look at, because we've talked to you about this before, Howard Kelman, our guest, the voice of the Indians. You've watched a lot of minor league baseball. And
yes.
You've watched, over the years. And the separation between this level and the big league club. From a batting standpoint, in your opinion, Howard, which is the one thing that more often holds a guy back? Is it having a certain pitch that he simply has trouble hitting? Or is it batter discipline of knowing when to hold off and when to go?
Those are both very good points, and I wouldn't say it's one or the other. Discipline is key, knowing yourself, knowing the strike zone. But the other point you made about a pitch, it can be a slider, where guys dominate in the minor leagues and they have issues in the big leagues. So it can be either one of those two, and that's a good point.
Baseball has been real, I guess, proactive, for lack of a better term, in making some changes. Obviously, the extra innings rule we've seen come into effect this year, but there's been talk about, what to do about shifts and the pitch clocks and, all these things that have happened over the last 1, 2, 3 years, however long it's been. You've been around this game for years and years, decades, Howard. How do you feel about some of these changes, especially kind of the wave of changes that we've seen over the last few seasons?
We've had the pitch clock in our league since 2018. Great. You need that in the big leagues. I don't know why the Players Association objects to it, but they need to do that. So that's one thing. But the thing you need is action. You need balls being put in play. You need doubles and triples, not home runs or strikeouts, not true outcomes, walks, home runs, and strikeouts. You need action. So let's hope we get more action put in. As far as the shifts go, guys, not all the time, but if they want to, they can poke the ball the other way. But they don't want to mess with their swing. Instead of playing to win and do what you want to do in a particular moment, guys are just concerned about that one at bat during a game where maybe they can launch a ball.
Do you think that that's a new anomaly, or has that always existed in baseball?
It's new. It's new. It's more of it than ever before. Some guys were like that, but there is not the adjustment with swings. Years ago, you put a shift on, a guy would lay down a bunt, go the other way. Now you see a shift with a 2-run lead in the 9th inning, and a hitter's job is to get on base any way possible, yet he doesn't go against the shift. I don't understand it.
Now, when you look, Howard Kelman is our guest, at those kinds of things in terms of the changes that we're talking about. Here's what I'm curious about. 2018 was when the pitch clock came in, right?
In our league, yes.
And it is not in the big leagues yet. But are we getting to
I'm sorry. It's before 2018. It's before.
Okay, so
2018 was the extra inning rule. 2015.
Okay, so even better. So you have 6 years now of the pitch clock. And for those that are unfamiliar, what we're talking about is when the pitcher gets the ball, he sees a timer that tells him he's got X amount of time.
It's like a game clock in a football game.
Correct. Are we starting to see, Howard, that the pitchers who have come up through the minor league system and gotten used to that pitch clock, that the discipline of that is carrying to them into the bigs?
Well, that's another reason to put it in the big leagues, because guys have been doing it in the minor leagues for a number of years now. In most cases, yes, most pitchers would like to work quickly. Not all, but most. So you definitely need that. You don't need guys stepping out of the batter's box. So I would agree with that many of them are doing that. And I will also tell you that within 2 to 3 weeks, 95% of the pitchers and hitters adjusted to it with no problem at all.
Right. Except for Nomar Garciaparra.
He takes way before that.
Well, I know, but I'm saying Garciaparra would take 3.5 weeks per pitch.
Wasn't it with him?
I
think with Nomar.
Yeah, and by the way, he rehabbed here with Pawtucket in 2001. Played phenomenal. We sold the ballpark out, and he played a phenomenal 4-game series against the Indianapolis Indians. But, yes, guys take too long. Mike Hargrove was named the human rain delay when he played.
Right.
I don't know if you guys remember that name.
Well,
and
he
later
became a
managed
manager,
the
right?
Cleveland
Yeah,
Indians.
of course.
The human rain delay. George Medich, a pitcher, said of Mike Hargrove, he's a one-man, four-cornered offense.
So you get in there and you just slow things down, Derek.
You don't need that. You need to move and you need to put the ball in play.
That's kind of what Jake does in this show. He just slows everything down, makes it
That's
boring.
right.
I'm here to add some of the excitement. So what's the Pirates farm system like? Because the last time that we were out here in 2019, it was kind of an exciting time for the big league club. Cole Tucker and a lot of other players that were kind of coming up in that group who are now with the big league team.
Well, now you have completely new management. You have a new manager. You have a new general manager, new president. Everybody got fired at the end of 19. They've completely sold out to a rebuild. And you saw what they did at the trading deadline. The farm system is strong now. Most of the prospects are in A-ball and AA. But the farm system is strong. One of the guys you'll see play tonight is Tucupita Marcano, second baseman, 21 years old. He's the biggest prospect on the team, and he was the principal in the Adam Frazier deal with San Diego.
Howard, one of the things that I've asked you forever, but it always fascinates me, and I think people find it interesting, and that is because you have been around the franchise a long time, and you've seen prospects come through here. You've seen some of them that panned out and, in fact, became great big league players. You've seen some that this was the ceiling for them. Can you tell early when a guy gets to Indianapolis whether or not he has the right approach to not looking beyond Indianapolis? Because I would understand why a guy might get here and say, I'm going to be here 2 weeks and then Pittsburgh's going to call me, and that actually limits him and holds him back. The mental approach, I would think, is so important. Can you kind of read it when you see a guy when he first arrives?
Yes, it means everything what you just said. There are some guys like that. There are some guys who spend so much time, and it's a complete waste of time, trying to figure out what the big league club is thinking. They spend more time thinking about what the big league club is thinking than the big league club is thinking about what it's doing. So you know that old line, control the controllables. Not a lot of guys do that. Some do, but put that out of your mind and just play and try to become the best player that you can become. Now, when a guy gets up and back a few times, he starts wondering. Doubt can set in. There's a lot of idle time for guys to think, and it usually isn't good.
Do guys ever try to reinvent who they are? In other words, I'm a second baseman, and I know that there's a really good second baseman that's at the big league level. And boy, I really feel like, shortstop, there might be more of an opportunity there. I need to show more range. I need to get away from what the Indians are asking of me to show what Pittsburgh would want of me. Does that happen?
Well, when that happens, and it does, Will Craig would be an example of that. He saw Josh Bell at first base, but usually the big league club and the player and the AAA club are all on the same boat as far as that goes. So Will Craig said, I got to play the outfield too. I got to play third base too. So yes, that does go on, and they do try to do that.
Howard Kellman, longtime voice of the Tribe, joins us live here on site at Victory Field. As we mentioned, Howard, you're one of the iconic voices in Indianapolis sports, and there have been many others, Mark Boyle, Bob Lamey, Paul Page. Bob Jenkins, we lost yesterday, 73 to brain cancer, and we memorialized him earlier in the show. I know your paths have crossed with some of the other announcers, but did your paths ever cross with Bob for any reason?
No, he was a racing guy, and I just did not know him. And we're always on the road the week of the race, and I wish I did. I heard a lot of nice things about him, and I know he'd fought the battle for a while with brain cancer, but no, I did not have contact with him.
He loved baseball, I'll tell you that, and I would not be surprised. He probably, I am certain in saying that Bob Jenkins would have been one that certainly would have also had a reciprocal knowledge of your career, Howard, because he loved two things that Bob loved aside from racing: hockey, and he loved baseball. So I mean, he didn't necessarily, he liked the Cardinals, but he would go around to different ballparks. That was one of those things that he loved to do.
You get a little west of Indy, and you have Cardinal territory, as you
big
said.
time.
Even in Plainfield, I'd say.
I mean, you go all the way. It was interesting to me in being around St. Louis fans. You get in towards certainly Central Illinois, and I mean, you would think it's. Of course, that's why it's a great rivalry.
Right.
You have some Cubs fans there, but for the most part, the eastward broadcast of KMOX's signal drowned out WGN coming south, and so you had Cardinal fans all the way across.
Until Kansas City got big league ball in the mid-'50s, and the Dodgers and Giants moved west, St. Louis was the farthest west of any team in the major leagues. Wow. And because of KMOX's dominant single, everybody knew who Harry Carey was. And so, you think of Harry Carey with the Cubs, but he was a legend for 25 years with the Cardinals. And so you had a situation where you had Cardinal fans in Colorado, in Oklahoma, in Tennessee, of course in Missouri. You had them all over the place, in Arkansas.
Right.
I mean, it was Cardinal territory.
And you grew up a Yankees fan, right?
Yes, in Brooklyn, in New York. And people say to me, well, you're from Brooklyn. How could you be a Yankee fan and not a Brooklyn Dodger fan? Well, the Dodgers left when I was 5 years old before I started following baseball. You had a unique 4-year period in New York baseball history, 1958 to 1961, when you only had one team. The Mets came into existence in 62. I became a fan at age 7, 1959. There was only one team, and that was the Yankees.
And I realize you were a young boy, but you are also a baseball historian. Did the Giants and the Dodgers leave the New York metropolitan area simply because the Yankees had such a dominance in the area, or because it was the pastures of a new area?
Nothing to do with that at all. They weren't dominating. In two different cases, the Giants were losing money, and they were all set to move to Minneapolis. And Horace Stoneham was the Giant owner. They're moving to Minneapolis. Well, the Dodgers were doing well in Brooklyn, but Walter O'Malley did everything he could to get a new stadium at the corner of Flatbush and Atlantic Avenues, which would have changed the course of history. They would not give it to him. Now, he was vilified in Brooklyn. This came out years later about how hard he tried. He was a native New Yorker. But anyway, he said, okay, I got a chance to go to Los Angeles, but he needed another owner to go with him. And he convinced Horace Stoneham, the Giants owner, to abandon plans to go to Minneapolis and to go to San Francisco, so you had two West Coast teams.
And then, ironically enough, if they hooked forces to make that possible, and then they end up becoming huge rivals on the West Coast. I mean,
yes,
you go to California,
but the rivalry in New York was incredible.
Well, sure, yeah.
And again, I missed this. I was too young, but you had the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Yankees in the World Series playing those teams. It was absolutely incredible. You had Subway Series. You had such passion. You had the three great center fielders in Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, and Duke Snider. You had the great shortstops in Phil Rizzuto and Pee Wee Reese. So you had everything those years in New York City. Roger Kahn wrote a book about it, 1947 to 1957, New York City's golden era of baseball.
Derek, you know my Duke Snider story.
Yeah, it has to do with an autograph session, right?
Yeah, we'll tell that after the break.
Yeah, we'll tell that. That's a little more PG-13, given the setting of all of that.
tease.
Howard, it's great to see you again. Thanks so much for coming here and coming out back onto the show, I guess, after a 2-year absence. And it's great to hear your voice again as well, because it was a tough absence to not have baseball last year and not have you calling games.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Derek. It's great to see you guys, and we're delighted you guys have come out, and we hope to see you again.
It's like riding a bike, Howard, being on here with you. I appreciate it very much. Right?
Thank you so much, Jake.
All right, Derek, I'll tell you about Duke Snider story next.
Yep, we'll do that. Also, I think BK from the shop's going to hop on with us, too. We'll talk about some of the new shirts at the Shop Indy. It's Query and Schultz live on ISC Sports Network.
Meet Zach. Day and night, rain or shine, even just out for a spin, Zach gets around. But we know Zach, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know he's been saving up to trade up. IMCU is here to help Zach and you drive your dream. Now get financing as low as 1.99% APR on a new or used vehicle. Today, it's all about Zach. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is caught.
There you go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way.
That is Wrestler! Wrestler! Whoa!
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz live from Victory Field. Thanks so much for joining us on the show. Thanks to Howard Kellman for stopping by, as he always used to do in the old radio days. But you may have noticed on our set here, as we're trying to keep everything, not blowing around in the wind and everything like that, we have brand new the Shop Indy shirt offerings, and a lot of these are in the new NLI branding, I guess, because the floodgates have really opened, as we've seen for college athletes.
It's NIL, is it not?
I think it's NIL.
NIL.
Yeah, nil.
You said NLI.
NIL.
I know, but you said NLI.
Oh, sorry. NLI's national letter of intent, I think, is what
This
for
is
like
name,
signing.
image, likeness,
Okay,
right?
yeah, NIL.
You want to start that over?
Look, Jake, do you want to take the intros? Do you
Yeah,
want
sure,
to do
I
that? Because
could.
you were texting on your phone. You even have your
I could
headset
do
on
that.
when we
I
came
mean, I
back.
could
This is live
multitask.
television. This isn't radio.
Hi there, my name is Jake Query. That's
Okay.
Derek Schultz on the other
Go
side.
ahead.
You might be asking yourself, as we're adorned here by shirts from the Shop Indy. By the way, the Shop Indy, theshopindy.com, also in Clay Terrace and in Broderpool Avenue, just next to Union Jack, formerly 920 Broderpool Avenue. Go one spot over. Joining us now is Brian Kelly from the shop, who might be able to hear to talk about the new NIL, name, image, likeness. Okay. You can see many of those are right there on the shirts that are in front of us here at Victory Field at this live broadcast. Brian, good to see you. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good.
Derek, how was that? You want to splice
Okay, fine.
that in?
Yeah.
Fine. That was a good intro. I'm excited about all these guys, but I just kind of wanted to start with what this experience has been like for you guys, because it felt like this thing happened. I mean, I think we were getting the ball rolling towards the floodgates opening up, but once the floodgates open up, here comes all the water, and you guys have really been on your toes from the get-go about making these deals happen with all these athletes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure June 30th, the announcement came that July 1st, all this stuff was going to be legal. So Alex and I messaged each other and we're like, we got to contact these guys. So we just contacted every Purdue athlete, IU athlete, local athlete that we could on Instagram or Twitter or whatever it was, just tagged them, all this stuff, gave them our email address, said, hey, we want to do some merch with you. Let's get this going. Like, we want to be the first people to do this. So it was kind of fast and furious, and like a lot of them immediately got back to us, said, yep, let's go. We threw some contracts together, basically presented them all with the same exact deal. And
at the risk of asking too esoteric your business dealings, and so feel free to decline the answer here.
Yep.
Do you have to go through the university with this, or do players have the right to be able to independently talk to you?
Yeah, we don't have to go. We contacted all the schools, and they were getting all their compliance going as we were talking about it. But we're not branding any of these with the schools, because the deals we're giving the players, if we do that, the players will get less money. So they would have to share in the royalty if we had Purdue logos and IU logos on them. So we decided to not do that.
This was the one that I figured. Now, I'll let you, Brian, kind of hold that up.
Yep.
Because it's a little windy out here. Trace Jackson Davis was the one that, as soon as this came out and you said that you had an IU one, I thought, I'll bet it's Trace Jackson Davis, and here you go, right?
Yep.
And then from a football standpoint for Purdue, you've got several here. Obviously, Jackson Anthrop, and then you've got Eric Hunter for basketball, but David Bell also. Yep. David Bell might have been your first, right?
He was our second. Cole Hawker was the first one we did, because we timed it around the Olympics. It made sense to get him out first. But David Bell was the second one, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, the David Bell one is very cool, and a local kid from Warren Central, which makes it particularly cool. Now, to your point, and I think this is interesting, you can't necessarily you can, but you don't have specifically, everybody knows what it is, but you don't have like the logo of the school on it.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we can, but the deal would be much less for the players. So we decided, once we got all the information, we said we'd rather just, this is going to be a short period of time that they're still in school for some of these guys. So let's just do the deal we decided to do in the first place.
And then how do you determine, moving forward, do players reach out to you? Do you reach out to players? Do you go by what people are asking about? How do you determine?
It's kind of all the above.
Yeah.
We've had everything. We've had lower level schools, and like we've had people who are, hey, I'm a wrestler on this team, can we get some stuff? So we're trying to work on maybe guys who and gals who would not sell as much merch with their likeness on it, but maybe we're going to come up with a program where they're allowed to accept free gifts now. So let's send them some free merch. They can promote us, and and they have a coupon code to where they can give out to people on campuses or whatever, and whoever. Every month, we're trying to say, like, if your coupon code is used the most, we're going to send you a prize. Like,
Derek, you would have fallen into the free merch category.
Well, I was a very talented wrestler, so I guess that would be where that would link up. But what's the response been like, Brian, from your actual customers? How have these been selling?
Oh, it's been great. Cole Hawker sold a ton, which was, we had no idea how much stuff runners bought.
Runner from Cathedral that runs at University of Oregon, and then obviously the Olympic team.
Yeah, and he sold great. Trace Jackson, I mean, they've all sold more than I thought they were going to. And we've released Travion Williams last week. We did
Purdue basketball.
Sasha Stefanovic from Purdue. We finished 2 designs for 2 other athletes today. We've got 4 more signs. So we're just continuing to reach out to people, and they're coming to us. Some of them have even, they're all trying to figure it out too. So some even have signed on with agents, and they have marketing firms. They're going in that direction, which is fine. Go that way if that's where you want to explore and try to learn that whole thing. So some of them have taken longer than others, but
Derek, I was just thinking about this. We've never asked Brian this, and what an opportunity we have right now. You could ask him about possibly putting together your failed Hoosier Hoosier and
Hoosier the Hoosier. Yeah, you know what? Brian and the shop guys have a great relationship with Indiana University, and I wouldn't want them to kind of step on any toes with that because IU knows that'd be a huge seller, right? They had an idea for a mascot back in 2005, Brian, when I was a senior, and they let students submit it. And I had an idea for a giant state of Indiana with arms and legs, and his name was Hoosier the Hoosier with a red cap. And I had a blueprint and everything of it, and then I actually made it out of a cardboard box. And Indiana shot it down immediately.
Did you go to a game wearing it?
I wore it, to a game. I had balcony seats.
Just out of
wore
curiosity.
It to a game.
Oh, balcony seats.
You know how narrow Assembly Hall is. It was hard for, I'm not a very big guy. I'm broad, but not a very big guy, and in a cardboard box, I'm going like this around up to my seat.
I mean, are there photos anywhere?
I do have.
We could probably draw it and submit it and see what happens.
Yeah, well, I'll send it over. I'll attach Alex on it too.
How many other students showed up at the game in their mascot submission?
I don't remember many doing that. No, I don't remember many actually wearing the mascot.
So you were the jackass in the balcony where nobody can see anyone in the balcony anyway, and you're walking around and you're literally rubbing Richmond up against people while they're trying to sit down and find
I
their
wore it
seats.
for Halloween too. So we went to a house party for Halloween, but the best part about wearing cardboard box Halloween party, red Solo cup right here.
Nice.
Just rest it right there the entire night.
So you're using Angola as a coaster.
Well, I was smoking menthol cigarettes with my left hand, so it was a little bit
That's good.
It's a little bit difficult.
That's good.
Brian, we really appreciate the partnership. It's been great. You guys were the first people on board with us when we relaunched the show. And, for many years, going back all the way to the radio days. Excited to see all your success, and we'd love to start getting together for live shows and stuff like that again, too.
Yeah, just
that,
let us know.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you guys have always been great to us. And
How great is this shirt, by the way?
Yeah, I wish we could. We don't have that licensing anymore for.
Really?
They changed it a little bit to where they're only giving out to specific people, and their fee kind of went up a little bit.
This is the ABCs, by the way, which was of the old Negro League. I wondered, so are there still copyrights for defunct teams like that?
Yeah. The Negro Leagues Museum owns all that stuff. Okay. So with that, you have to have a license. They changed their program a little bit, so we decided not to opt in this year. The fees were a little higher, and based on our sales.
So do you do some shirts that kind of relaunch, like they go away for a little bit, you create a thirst? So what's on the horizon?
What's on the horizon? As far as relaunches go, a lot of it's like the vintage stuff that we do. So we may have launched something 6 years ago, but our audience is so much bigger now that nobody knows that had existed. So
I like the Chiefs.
Yeah, so a lot of times we get comments on our posts like, hey, you guys should do this. And we always go, well, we have, but that was 5 years ago. And then we think, wait a minute, that was 5 years ago. We should probably do it again because these guys had no idea who we were. So we do that a lot with the hockey stuff, the old hockey stuff, a lot of the vintage stuff. A lot of people have requested clowns and ABCs, so next 2022 we may look into adding that license again.
Do you know what ABC stood for, Derek?
It's some company, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me.
American Beverage Company.
Yeah. I knew it was a company. See, I thought it was just ABC's, whatever. Yeah. But a lot of those teams back then were named after, like Acme Packing Company for the Packers, right?
They were named after the owner, it was the the
Browns.
The Kotskis were here, like the Indianapolis.
Yep, that's right.
They were just named after the guy who owned the team.
Can you imagine the Indianapolis Schultzes? What a disaster that would be.
Oh, it'd be huge. It'd be a huge brand success to already have that foundation.
Yeah.
TheShopIndy.com, Clay Terrace, the new digs over at Broad Ripple. Check out the new
what's
shop.
the
It's
new
really
address?
nice.
New address is 918, right next door where we used to be.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can I just
He
keep
always
saying
said
next to
920.
920?
Yeah.
Can I have that 920
You can do
stuck in my
that.
head?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks so much, Brian.
Yeah, no
And
problem.
tell Alex we said hey as well.
Well, I will.
We'll come back and talk about IndyCar's wild weekend in Nashville. Jake was there, the good and the bad and the ugly.
And my Duke Snyder story happened right across the street.
Oh, I forgot about that. We got to get to that,
tell
too.
the next, yeah.
It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Meet Kate. She has a lot to juggle. Family, work, it can lead to trying days and tired nights. But we know Kate, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know at some point her space at a premium life may change. IMCU is here to help Kate and you find your space. Now, add on or remodel with an introductory rate of 1.9% APR on a home equity line of credit. Today, it's all about Kate. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
The final stretch of Indians baseball is here, but the sights and sounds live on at Victory Field. From the crack of the bat to the play at the plate, don't miss your last chance to cheer on your hometown team. Get your tickets today at IndyIndians.com.
Back once again at Victory Field, downtown Indianapolis. Jake Query, that is Derek Schultz. There's a seat between us because Randy Lewandowski, the general manager of the Indians, will be joining us here in just a few. Derek, right across the street from here, of course, is what used to be the convention center and the RCA Dome. The RCA Dome was kind of right here, and then the convention center went that way. But when I was a kid, I would go to baseball card shows. You did baseball card shows, right?
Oh, yeah, loved card collecting.
Because you were hustling people on the internet.
No, nothing like that. I did have a fake alias, Stefan Sports Cards, and I had a P.O. box.
I think fake alias is redundant.
Well, I needed to have the
if it's
alias.
a fake alias,
just
then
relax.
like just
Okay.
an alias,
Okay,
right?
Fine. I needed to have whatever it is, the fake name / alias, in order so people knew they weren't dealing with a 13-year-old kid. I wanted people to think that I was a legit dealer. And this was in like the dial-up internet days, like AOL 2.5, 3.0, 1995-ish. So people weren't able to verify things as easily on the internet. So people thought that I was a 35-year-old man that lived in Bridgeport, Connecticut, when in reality I was a 13-year-old kid that lived in Trumbull. And I didn't own a sport card shop, and my name was not Stefan.
Did Stephon Marbury? Is that
Yeah, that was the inspiration because he was a New York City phenom, and I loved Stephon Marbury.
Okay, how much total revenue would you say you made profit off of your card?
Anything that I got, I spent. So basically, anything that I sold, I put right back out there because I love to collect. For me, it wasn't about making money. It was about collecting cards. So it wasn't like a business venture. I was 13, Jake. I was an idiot. It wasn't about making money for me then. But I wish I would have held on to some of that stuff because I had some high-end Jordan stuff that I let go then, and now that has aged very nicely.
So when I was a kid, I loved baseball cards, and Matt Churchman, Jason Keller, and myself, we would go to baseball card shows, many of which were either at the convention center once it opened up and expanded towards the RCA Dome, or at the old Holiday Inn or Marriott on the east side on Shadeland that had the Adams, or the, what was the hotel that had the...
Howard Johnson's.
No, what's the joint? Help me out, Rob. It had the little TVs in it. It was a rib place, not Adam's Rib.
Rax.
Damon's Ribs. Anyway, we came to a baseball card show, probably 1983. I was probably in the 5th grade. It was right at the tail end of when I started kind of getting out of the baseball card interest. But we came to a baseball card show, and oftentimes at baseball card shows, they would have like Hall of Fame players come in and sign autographs or do an appearance, take photos. That was the big enticement. So we came down, and Duke Snider was the Hall of Fame player that happened to be appearing at the baseball card show. He was going to be signing autographs, whatnot. And I think my dad was more excited. You know, he knew who Duke Snider was. I'm
Sure.
like, okay, whatever. So we get down here right at the convention center, and just before we get into the show, I said, oh, I'm going to go in and use the restroom real quick. And I go in and stand. Now, let me. I don't want to be too crass here, but men, and all men know this, Derek. If you walk into a men's restroom and there are along the wall, 3 urinals,
Yeah.
and you're the first person to walk into the restroom,
You never take the middle one.
you always go on the wing,
take,
right?
Yeah, you take
You
one.
always
and
go
one or
on the
other.
wing.
You never take the middle.
It's just like
Yep.
it's just like an airplane. You would never choose
Unwritten
the middle
rule of
seat. Right.
men's restrooms.
So there's one person, and he's standing at the middle. And I'm like, and it's an older gentleman, but he is pants down while standing at urinal guy at the ankles.
No, you're making that sound like that's something that people regularly experience. I have never, ever seen somebody at a urinal go pants down. Never.
Well, you have, but they're usually 5, right?
Sure. I mean, I guess, okay, my son does that. He's 4.
So I'm like, what? What is going on here? But anyway, so very awkward. And might I add, this is the second most awkward restroom experience I had at the convention center with a sports star. But nonetheless, so I finish and wash my hands and walk out, and my dad's like, hey, Jake, you're not going to believe this. Did you see Duke Snider? And I'm like, Duke Snider's like, yeah, the Hall of Fame player, Duke Snider. He's right over there. And he points, and I'm like, that's pants at ankle bathroom guy. And so my dad's like, get his autograph. You should get his autograph. So I'm like, okay. So I go walking up to him. And of course, the entire time, it's like Marcia Brady looking at her driving instructor when she's taking her license test. You know, I'm seeing him in his underwear, basically. And I walk up, and I'm like, excuse me, Mr. Snider, can I have your autograph? And he looks right at me and says, you want my autograph? And I said, well, yeah, that's why I asked. And of course, I wanted to say, well, not really, but my dad wanted me to ask.
Sure.
And he says, good. You pay $5 for it like every other little kid at this place. And he walked right in and sat at his table.
Wow.
And I didn't pay $5. And the late, great Hall of Famer Duke Snider was later arrested or busted for tax evasion for not filing taxes on the money he made from his auto. And you know what? The revenue that he had to turn in was $5 less than what it could have been.
How you like them apples?
Yep. There you go. But
Get
Duke
some
Snider,
new pants.
right across the street. Yeah.
Randy Lewandowski is going to join us next, the general manager of the Indians.
Pants
We've got
with elastic.
IndyCar to get to. We've got Edge and Peyton to get to. We've got a whole nother hour to go here live from Victory Field. Stay with us here on ISC Sports Network.
Meet Zach. Day and night, rain or shine, even just out for a spin, Zach gets around. But we know Zach, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know he's been saving up to trade up. IMCU is here to help Zach and you drive your dream. Now get financing as low as 1.99% APR on a new or used vehicle. Today, it's all about Zach. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
one is caught.
There you
oh,
go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh my goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way.
That
Wrestler! Wrestler! Whoa!
Welcome back to lovely Victory Field, beautiful downtown Indianapolis. It's Corey and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network. Thanks so much to Jordan Shue, our game director, and our entire crew for making this possible today. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Bailey & Wood Financial Group. Jake, their golf outing's coming up on Thursday down at Dyswalk.
Really?
And I committed both of us to that without asking you if you're free.
What, this Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you have to be there early because we're not actually playing golf.
Define early.
8 a.m.
Okay.
8:30 a.m. They're having breakfast, and then we're going to go over there and shake hands, kiss babies, and do all that.
You know, their website is bawfg.com.
That's right.
Bawfg.com. I may just about 10:30 wake up, log onto their website, and just check in, see how things are going.
Okay. Well, then I'll represent us like I always do, I guess, in public. But you can go to Bailey & Wood Financial Group if you're looking to refi or you are looking for your home purchase, of course. You have to get pre-approved for that. You can go to bawfg.com, 855.
Rates are low, right?
350-HOME. Yeah, rates still low. They've, I think, risen a little bit from like where they were last year at this time. But you
as
still
low
want to
as
check out
the
Bailey
odds
&
of
Wood.
me getting up at 8 a.m. to hang out with you?
Okay, yeah, you know what? If I thought that after we got laid off, you were serious about keeping the show alive, and if you're serious about keeping the show alive, you have to do things like this and go to these things and
I'm more
shake hands
interested
and kiss
in keeping
babies.
myself alive, and sleep is very important to me.
It's a good point with what's been going on with your heart.
Yeah.
We're joined now by Randy Lewandowski, the general manager of the Indians. And we got to thank you as well, Randy, for letting us come back out here. You probably thought at the end of the radio days, oh, God, thank God, we're free of those guys. But here we are back again after 2 years away.
Well, we did think that for about a hot minute, but no.
You did this, right?
No. You guys have been great supporters of us over the years. And yeah, tough circumstances, but yeah, we want to hang with you guys, and we're glad that you're doing so well with ISC, and yeah, we're glad to have you out here.
You know, we talked to Howard about this, but and you and I have run into each other, fortunately, Randy, on a couple of occasions. But I think that even people who, you know, just with everything that took place last summer, there's just something about coming out to the ballpark and hearing the music during batting practice and sitting out and just hanging out and watching baseball and being able to do so. I don't know that necessarily I even fully grasped how much that was a part of the summer routine, and I mean that as no disrespect, until it was gone. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing that people are coming out in droves because they simply want to be able to feel like, in fact, we're returning to a normalcy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the sights and sounds of baseball is kind of what makes it special, I think.
Sure.
There's an ebb and a flow to the game, and there's a casualness to it. You know, you can't beat fun at the old ballpark, those kinds of things. And yeah, I think in a lot of cases in life, we don't know what we have till it's gone. And I think we all experienced a ton of that last year. And baseball at Victory Field, or baseball at Wrigley Field, or at PNC Park, or the Little League fields. I mean, all that was gone from a baseball perspective. So we have seen it, and it's been great to see fans back. And we're not at 2019 or 2018 levels, and I don't think anybody in live sports and entertainment will be this year. And 22, it's just going to take some time. But for the folks that have come out and are experiencing the ballpark, it's been great.
For you guys, how have things been different? I mean, I know obviously for fans, the beauty of it is you come out to the park, because I've done so, and it feels not different. But I'm sure for you, there are things that had to be changed.
Oh, we've had fits and starts. We just released our 4th version of our schedule. Yeah. We normally have a schedule each late August, Labor Day, that we have for the following year. We didn't even have one until the end of February. We didn't know how many fans we were going to be able to have, how many games we were going to play. April then got delayed. We got games added into the first weekend of October. So it's just been disjointed. Hard to get a flow. Baseball is about routine and ebbs and flows, and we've been starting and stopping. So that's been our challenge. We've also seen challenges like everybody else has throughout the business world with supply chain challenges and labor shortages. That's real everywhere, not just in manufacturing or anywhere else. It's real in the baseball world too. So all those things. So it's been hard to get into a flow. But we're back. People are going to be here tonight. They're going to be here all through the week and the weekend, and we're open for business, and we're excited about that.
You've got some games at home here, right? For
We
people,
do.
not just tonight, for people to be able to come out and enjoy the games.
Yeah, we're home all week through Sunday and 5 of the next 8 weeks. We go deep into the year. Mid-September, we've got a home stand, and then that last week of September into the first weekend of October, we're home. So,
Derek, we should come out Wednesday night because we got nowhere to be till like 1 p.m. on Thursday.
Yeah, actually, I guess you're right about that.
Yeah.
At least you do. I've got to be somewhere in the morning, but at least you do, and I can still handle that, Jake. I can still have that packed schedule. And not have
at
to worry
home
about
until
it.
when, though?
Sunday afternoon.
Okay, so we got several stretches here, great weather.
And that's one of the changes that I actually like, Randy, is I really like this 6-game series stuff. I also really like the fact that the Iowa Cubs come here now,
Yes.
and the team tonight, St. Paul, these are teams that you guys didn't see at all in previous years with the reorganization, and I get that, some teams don't exist anymore, and there were a lot of challenges for minor league baseball, but kind of sticking to the positives, were there some good things that came of these last 2 years or so?
Yeah, I think you mentioned a couple. To bring the Iowa Cubs back, the Memphis Redbirds with the Cardinals. We saw a lot of Cardinals jerseys and hats in the stands. That stuff certainly helps. The 6-game series that you mentioned, we basically played Tuesday through Sunday, with Monday as a universal off day in our league, AAA East. Was met with some skepticism, yet I think teams, players, front offices have really come to like that. Monday's become kind of a reset day for everybody. There was some concern about playing the same opponent 6 days in a row. I think tempers have flared, but that's going to happen anytime during the course of baseball. So there's been a lot of positives, and I think we're starting to hear some things about a 22 schedule. We'll see some things here over the next few weeks, but hearing that 6-game series might stick around a little bit. So I think we're excited about that.
For you guys as an organization, or just for you personally, Randy, every once in a while I'll be sitting there. This just happened a couple weeks ago. I'm scrolling through Twitter, and there's a major league, highlight of the night, like, hey, you got to see this unassisted double play or whatever. And I'll think, that name's familiar. That guy was an Indianapolis Indian. Is there still, even for you, and you've been at it a while, though, like a sense of pride or like kind of like a dad moment of like, that's pretty cool. That kid came through here, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, especially we don't get to know all the players. And
Right.
heck, this year, I think I just heard we only have 12 guys left on our roster from opening day. Now, that's some transition, a lot of COVID stuff, but not really. It's more about the Pirates. I mean, they're in a year of transition, no doubt, and they've overturned, their Major League roster too. But just if you do get to know a guy for whatever reason, if it's to bring him up here to bring him on your show, or you have an issue, or you have a problem, or they have a question, that's how we get to know some of the players. And I think when you get to know him and you get to see them have some success, the one I can remember is Andrew McCutchen. Now, everyone's going to say, oh, yeah, he's an MVP. But Andrew McCutchen, when he was here, was a 20 and a 21-year-old kid, like a baby. And I had to drive him somewhere. Something happened with his car, and I live on the north side of town. I mean, it's a long, crazy story. But I remember at the time, I think I was probably 40 years old. I'm twice his age. And there's not a whole lot to talk about. But I asked him, so what are you working on? And he said, well, Call of Duty and some other things. But then when he got to baseball, he said, I need to work on my angles in the outfield and hitting my cutoff man, and just to hear those things. So I got to know him a little bit and just stayed in touch with him in the early part of his career in Pittsburgh. And when he got called up, you send him a congrats text, or when he wins the MVP, hey, great job, and things like that. So absolutely, he did. He figured him out pretty well.
Yeah. But, and I ask this every time we talk to you guys, but it fascinates me. With a guy like that who goes on, you're talking about a future major league, MVP,
Mm-hmm.
there would be, for a lot of guys, a resentment when they're here because they think they should be with the parent club. They think they are ready for the majors. It takes a level of humility and, quite frankly, a maturity and a professionalism, even at the age of 20 to 21, to say, you know what? This is my last step of graduate work before I go out in the real world.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
It is, and I think the thing that I always talk about is baseball is the hardest game to play. You've got to be an incredible athlete to be a basketball player, the size, strength, and speed of an Indianapolis Colt, but the nuances of the game and to hone in. Everybody here, not everybody, but most guys are throwing 92 to 97. It's the same as in the big leagues, but can they spot it on a corner? Can they jam a guy if you're on the mound? Or if you're a hitter, can you react to that? And when they get a scouting report on you, can you adjust? And they're so good at the major league level that if you have any weakness, they can expose that, whether you're a hitter or a pitcher. And the game is just so hard, and those nuances are so challenging. And I often liken it to this, is that at the AAA level, you're still a top 1,500 or 2,000 player in the world. If you add up all the rosters, and maybe throw in some guys from Japan, but you think about that, you're the top 2,000 in the world in your profession, and half of those guys aren't good enough to be at the pinnacle.
I don't know, a month and a half ago, I was driving through Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I saw a billboard for the Lookouts, which is a AA team. And it said, like, what radio station. So I turned it on, and it was in the 3rd inning or something. And I thought, well, I'll go and catch a couple innings. So I went to their park. Now, that's AA. So that's one level below the Indianapolis Indians. Which is the greater divide? The level of skill between AA and AAA, or the level of skill between AAA and the big leagues?
I'd go one further. I think the level of skill between single A and AA. If you get to AA, then you've got a chance to get to the big leagues. That's kind of what some of the evaluators will say. Now, you'll hear some people say, oh, the top prospects skip AAA. That doesn't happen much anymore. Castro's a guy with the Pirates that has done that this year, but that's just been out of need and roster situations. But the ultimate hardest is to go from AAA and stay in the major leagues. And most of these guys that are going to play out here tonight, probably half of them have been at the big leagues at some point in time, and they all are talented enough to fill in for a couple of weeks, but it's that repetitiveness, or being able to find holes or to cover weaknesses, that you have to learn to adjust to at the big league level and stay there. That's the hardest thing.
And then I would think, if you're going back and forth, when you come back down here, to not have this, for your attitude to suck, quite frankly.
But that's where it happens. The young guys like McCutcheon when he was 20 or 21, or guys on their way up in their first time in AAA, they just think it's a natural journey, single A, double A, AAA, big leagues. They haven't seen that failure or that knockback down the ladder. But it's those guys that get squeezed because of a roster numbers or a position or whatever else, or just quite frankly feel like they got a bad shake. Those are the ones, and that's why a AAA manager is probably also one of the hardest professions in all of professional sports, because you're dealing with the young up-and-comers who just expect it to happen, and then you're trying to manage the personalities and the disappointments and the egos of guys that think they should be there, have been there, yet they're here. And our old trainer, Dean Trainer, said his comment to the guys were, you are where your feet are. You can think you should be in Pittsburgh, but if you're in Indianapolis, you better remember where you are, because the game will still eat you alive here at this level if you're not ready to play.
I should put in a resume with you, because I'm used to dealing with egos, right?
That true, Derek?
Randy, you know Jake, and you know where the ego sits at this table, so I don't even need to comment on that. Randy Lewandowski, the GM of the Indians. Last thing, Randy, a couple of weeks ago, you guys celebrated the 25th anniversary of Victory Field, which is amazing. I'm not going to say which team they're with, but it's a very prominent Major League franchise. I'm upstairs in the press box because I wanted to check out the Elements financial area. It's gorgeous, by the way. And a Major League scout was in the press box, and he was asking about a roster, and they says, man, this is a Major League park. And I told him, they just celebrated their 25th anniversary. He didn't believe me, so we actually had to look it up on the phone to show him that this place opened in 1996. I just think it's a compliment. Look, I know we're sitting here and we're invited guests of you guys, so people are saying, well, no, they just say that because this park does not look a day over the first year. It's beautiful. You can still eat off the floor. And all of the changes that you guys have made, from the LED ribbon boards and everything over the years to modernize it, and the suite area, you have to be proud of everything that you've been able to put into this.
We are, and thank you. And candidly, that's how we're judged in most cases. I mean, we're not dictating who's on the field. People say, you're the general manager. Well, yeah, but on the minor league level, it's generally managing the operation in the organization, not necessarily the roster. So what we control is the ballpark and that experience that goes along with it, and we'll put ours up against anybody's anywhere. We took a staff trip to a certain major league park here not too long ago. We did things in the COVID world where our staff got together and we went somewhere. And what I love to see on our young staff on their faces was, oh my gosh, we do this better than they do. And it was the upkeep of the park, and it was just their game presentation and all of those things. So thank you. And I think the thing that I love the most is we've made a lot of updates. But the thing is when people come in here, they can't tell, because they've fit in so seamlessly into the original construction of the ballpark. And we've worked really hard to maintain those things that are 25 years old. But you just mentioned the Elements Financial Club. Well, if you look at it behind home plate, people will walk in and say, oh my gosh, that thing's been here from the beginning. And we've just done that with the Yingling Landing and everything else that we've done to try to make it fit. And what I like to think of, and this has been a challenge too during COVID, is Victory Field is nothing but a huge community gathering place. And in the summertime, on a consistent basis, I don't know if there's any better place to gather than Victory Field. And we want to bring community together, and it's comfortable. And I think that's what's driven us over the 25 years. I've been here all 25, 2.5 over at Busch Stadium. And I know people hated to see Busch Stadium go. But boy, the difference between the venues is second to none.
What's the secret in upkeeping it from year in and year out? Aside from what you talk about, is it just like from your grounds crew and then also the facility itself? I mean, when you're walking around and not having like any cracks in the structure and et cetera, is it simply pride of the employees?
Yeah, and we spend money. I'm not going to pat ourselves on the back, but we spend quite a bit of money. There's surveys across minor league baseball where the teams are, nameless, and you get a number, but we know who we are because then you can line up your expenses and your revenues, and you just kind of do it, and we're like, wow. But it shows, and we're okay with that because we get comments like you made, Derek, and but we've invested in it, and we've known we want downtown Indianapolis to be our home, and we invest in the community and the ballpark, and I think that's something that we've done, and certainly we've got some longtime employees. We've had some turnover here over the last couple of years, but our employees do care, and I think they see that from the very beginning, and just having that pride and that genuineness in how we treat people and try to do things the right way is probably one reason why we've been successful over these 25 years.
Thanks so much for having us out, as always, Randy. We really appreciate it, and can't wait to be able to see the game tonight because this is my first time experiencing Victory Field since 2019. So really thrilled to be back here.
Well, yeah, Derek, I've seen Jake out here at least 3 times as a paying fan. So not to pile on you or anything like that, Derek, but Jake,
I have a 4-year-old.
Right?
My wife works overnight.
Hold on, there's nothing better than bringing a 4-year-old. Look at the lawn right behind us. He can roll around, roll down the hill. Yeah. It's safe. No, we're just giving you a hard time. We appreciate you guys coming out. And again, like I said, the support over the years and the success that you guys are having with the new gig, we're so excited for you guys.
Really appreciate
that.
Much
appreciated.
Yep. We'll come back with more next year on ISC Sports Network, including Jake's recap of Nashville and all the wild stuff going on down there with the IndyCar weekend. It's Corey and Schultz.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Meet Kate. She has a lot to juggle. Family, work, it can lead to trying days and tired nights. But we know Kate, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know at some point her space at a premium life may change. IMCU is here to help Kate and you find your space. Now, add on or remodel with an introductory rate of 1.9% APR on a home equity line of credit. Today, it's all about Kate. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
The final stretch of Indians baseball is here, but the sights and sounds live on at Victory Field. From the crack of the bat to the play at the plate, don't miss your last chance to cheer on your hometown team. Get your tickets today at IndyIndians.com.
Welcome back to Victory Field. It's Corey and Schultz live here on ISC Sports Network. I'm Derek Schultz. Jake Query is here as well. He's talking to some old friends of ours, some old radio listeners, and Henry and Joe Kane. It's really great to see them after a couple of years. That's what's been so fun.
To them. Do you need me?
No. Well, we do have to do a show eventually.
I'm being folksy, Derek.
That's what's been so fun, though, about coming back out here and being able to see people in person again, like Henry and Joe, or like Shane or Randy or Howard or anybody here with the Indians, because it's been 2 full years. I mean, I've talked to them and exchanged texts, and Henry messages me all the time about the IndyStar podcast and all the other things that I've got going on.
Henry is my hero. Henry and Joe both are my heroes because Henry's retired, and we've met Henry since his retirement. You know, I mean, he was working when we first met him. But this guy, in his retirement, he and Joe both, they travel around to little small towns, and he tries out different microbrews and little, like, cool little antique stores, and, like, this guy's living the dream. He's living the life somewhat similar to mine only being because full-time I'm just not working.
Yeah.
You know,
pretty much.
Henry, on the other hand,
you're basically retired.
Henry,
where we sit today.
Henry earned his vacation.
I do want to talk about one of your other jobs in IndyCar here in just a second. This portion of the show brought to you by our friends at Chateau Kitchens. At Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook. Give them a follow, and you can see all of their projects from start to finish. And it is amazing the transformations that they make in people's kitchens, basements, bathrooms, anything interior-wise. But the name of the game for them is cabinetry. They make that stuff in-house, and the cabinets are beautiful. They provided those for my wife and I in our kitchen remodel a couple of years ago. Steven and his team are going to take great care of you at Chateau Kitchens. You can visit them online at chateaukitchens.com.
Did they do that shower you have that's the size of like a small gymnasium with the 2 shower heads?
No, they didn't do that one. That predated us knowing about Chateau.
Okay.
So that was one of the first projects that we did with there. But I don't know why you're so focused on where I shower. That seems to be a little
Well, I think it's odd that you have the 2 shower heads. I just, do you run back and forth between them?
Well, I like to change them up a little bit every once in a while. I like to
do you have
go
a designated
into each
shower
day
head?
Not knowing which shower head I'm going to use.
Okay.
But you're making it sound like this is some like big mansion. It's a 3-bedroom house in Midtown. We have a nice shower. Okay?
But one of the bedrooms has turned into a shower. That's the weird thing about it with 2 shower heads.
We added on space and we put that shower in there because we wanted to have a nice shower.
Okay.
That's all that it was.
How many times a day do you
don't
shower?
You don't have a nice shower in the 2-bedroom apartment where you live alone?
I just completely redid the place. I have a nice shower.
Okay.
I don't have 2 shower heads.
I didn't know you seemed very envious and focused on my shower, so I didn't know if you had a nice shower or not.
I've become shower at night guy. And this time, in the morning as well. I do twice a day. Morning and evening. When I lived in New York, I showered like 3 times a day.
I will shower at night if I have to, but that can't be my only shower because I get
no question.
I feel like I'm gross when I wake up from sleeping. I don't sweat very
certainly
much,
no question
but I
there.
feel like I'm gross.
Okay.
But I'm a morning wake up ice cold shower guy. Yeah, cold shower. Just hit me with it. I just want the day to come.
At what age did you get used to the cold showers?
I don't know, probably in my early 20s. I used to actually do it because I was hungover. I used to actually do that because it would help just in Gatorade Frost and all of that back when that was still a part of my life. So it was the college years that I actually started with the cold showers, but those were usually at 1:30 in the afternoon as opposed to, 7 in the morning.
I actually was 2 shower a day guy in Nashville because it was very hot. It was very sticky. Have you been to Nashville lately?
I went almost exactly a year ago, so late June for our wedding anniversary. My wife and I went down there, had a great time.
It is a very cool city. Every bachelorette party of the Western Hemisphere is in Nashville, Tennessee. Listen, to be fair, okay, if you go to Las Vegas is the hub and the epicenter of bro convention, right? 8 guys together, oh, bro, it's annoying. And I get that it's annoying, and for women it must be terribly annoying. The balancing act is Nashville, Tennessee with the bachelorette parties. Let me tell you something. Nashville with the tour bus or the beer buses or whatever, this is the pedal bars gone berserk. Literally, you can't swing a dead cat in Nashville and not hit 7 different bachelorette parties of groups of girls wearing the T-shirts with all kinds of cute phrases, singing Miley Cyrus at the top of their lungs, a half a cocktail away from out for the count. I mean, it is everywhere. I've never seen anything like it.
Tell me if you agree with this. I tweeted this, and we have got a guy, Jake Rose, who lives down there in Nashville and is a fan of the show. And I said, in my experience with Nashville's a lot of fun, but I would imagine living there full time would be completely exhausting.
I think if you lived full time, you would be on Broadway very seldomly, right?
Yeah.
Only when people are in from out of town.
I don't think the locals would go down there.
On one of the nights, I was like, you know
what?
Locals
don't go to the Strip in Vegas, right? You know,
Correct.
people that live in Vegas. Nobody in Vegas that actually lives there goes to Vegas.
I decided one night, you know what, I'm just going to go out and I'll have a beer. I'll basically be Henry, right? I'm going to go out and just get myself a nice cold beer, a local beer, and listen to some live music for 20 minutes. I took 2 steps and I'm like, good night. I mean, it was packed.
You sent me a video.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of people from Central Indiana and a lot of IndyCar fans because, you know, I ran into a lot of people. I also went down on Thursday night with Michael Young, Ryan Marine, and Nick Yeoman, and we went to a concert at the new, is it Fifth Third Bank, or it's got a corporate name, First Bank or something, amphitheater.
Bridgestone, isn't it?
Well, it's got a name, but then it's got a corporate name to it.
Okay.
Bridgestone, I think it's not Bridgestone.
Isn't that the hockey arena? Or
Bridgestone's the hockey arena.
Okay.
But there's a
Nashville
new amphitheater in Franklin, Tennessee, which looks like Zionsville.
Oh, Franklin.
But it's
Sorry, I
just
thought you were talking about Nashville.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
sorry.
an amphitheater that is built into an old granite quarry, and so there's like a 100-foot granite wall in the back of it, and it's gorgeous. It's fabulous. And we went and saw a band, Derek, that I'm going to guess that you are familiar with, but I clearly am too old to be familiar with.
Probably not, Jake.
Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were very good. The place is very cool. If you are interested in doing like a weekend getaway and seeing a concert somewhere, I would recommend going to that amphitheater.
Yeah, in Franklin, we went to the little downtown square, which was really neat. The only thing about Franklin that is interesting, and it was a bit of a culture shock for me, was you go to that square, and they've got something that sort of looks like Monument Circle. And it's a big monument, and it says, to our brave Confederate soldiers. And it's just like, okay, I guess we're in the South now.
Yeah.
And you go into a little shop, hey, how you doing? Welcome. And you see like Confederate flag wallet holders. And I'm like, what year is it again?
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it's something that.
That stuff's pretty real.
Yeah. You have to you have to be prepared for, I guess.
The race itself, Derek, I will say this, in terms of the Music City Grand Prix. It's interesting because you got to figure, I mean, there were a lot of people a ton of IndyCar fans there, but I did talk to some people that were asking me about qualifying, for example, and they're like, how is qualifying? Is it similar to NASCAR qualifying? So it became clear that, yes, there were NASCAR fans that were there to take on the race itself. And so in looking at that, I'm looking at the carnage that's taking place and the fact that cars are in the runoff area and cars are not able to go too wide and they're bumping into each other. And I thought, NASCAR fans, actually, that would not be a huge issue. And I don't mean that condescendingly. That's the kind of racing that they are used to. I think they enjoyed the speed of it. Clearly, that race course that Tony Kottman designed, which, by the way, I don't know if it's by design or not, but it looks like a musical note from above. But the racetrack itself, they're going to have to come up with areas where they can widen it and allow for better passing zones and probably have a start-finish line as they came over the bridge so that turn 9 is actually turn 1. But in terms of the atmosphere, the attendance, and the buzz of it, the groundwork is there. And I think it can be a very successful event.
And this is what people have to realize, and I get it, and I love diehard IndyCar fans. And some of you guys watch the show because of, you know, Jake. Jake's like the face of IndyCar, right?
I don't know about that.
According to some people. You're complaining about the racing, and, you know, if somebody say, well, Iowa's great racing, and Kentucky's great racing. Nobody wants to go to Sparta, Kentucky. No one wants to go there. Nobody wants to go to the middle of nowhere in Iowa.
They'll drive in and drive out, yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? What IndyCar needs, the product is already great. What IndyCar needs
is
eyeballs.
Henry, come here.
That's what
you already drove Henry away.
This is live television.
Well, I know, but Henry right here, you got to dip that.
Like
there
radio.
You go.
Yeah.
Henry and Joe, by the way, I'm just going to ask him real quick.
How's retirement?
Awesome. Outstanding.
You're living retirement the right way.
Every minute.
Joe, let me ask you something. How is retirement affecting the marriage?
We're still together.
Well, so
it's worked. I guess so. Barely hanging on.
I almost retired, and yet somehow we're still together, right? These two have been so good to us from day one. These guys have been
we
all
love
of our
Henry and Joe.
Very
Always
much
been
so.
super supportive.
Very much so.
Yeah, we really, really appreciate them coming out for this, too.
They're probably
and
shocked
I'm
that we're
glad.
still together.
And I had no doubt that retired life was going to treat Henry and Joe very well. But like I was saying, what IndyCar really needs is eyeballs. They need attention.
Right.
And even though, look, what was it, 8 cautions in the first 51 laps? It was a total bleep show. It was a mess. But people were paying attention. People,
Did you see the
people
TV ratings?
cared about it. No, actually, I didn't even see the numbers.
Look, I will right now confess to being completely dead wrong. I thought the TV ratings, and I worried that the TV ratings were going to be really low because of the fact that not only did they have a tough time getting some green rhythm, but with about 20 laps to go in that race, the most beloved professional athlete in the history of this state, who, by the way, happens to also be the most beloved college athlete in the history of the state of Tennessee, was getting inducted into the Football Hall of Fame. And so I was worried that that was going to draw numbers away, but it did massive television numbers, notably in Nashville and Indianapolis.
People wanted to see it.
It did the highest cable ratings for an IndyCar race in 23 years.
Yeah,
so
I'm not surprised at all. Again, from a business standpoint, Jake, it was a home run.
Totally.
From a racing purist standpoint, they need to clean up a lot.
We still need to get to Peyton and Edge.
We do. Yep.
We haven't gotten
There was
to that
something
yet.
else that was big that I
right?
felt like. We have all of our features to get to. Our Sage Move of the Week from WGU Indiana, Bite or Bull Bleep in the shop. Love that play still to get to as well. Oh yeah, Darius Leonard getting paid. We could talk about that.
No
and
surprise.
fit that in. We're gonna do a new kind of segment called Quick Hits, where we talk about a couple of. I just thought of it this morning after my cold shower. In my luxurious shower, and we're going to do some quick hits to end the show, but that'll be coming up about 20 minutes.
We're about to lose David Bell. He just fell off.
It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Some features when we return.
Meet Zach. Day and night, rain or shine, even just out for a spin, Zach gets around. But we know Zach, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know he's been saving up to trade up. IMCU is here to help Zach and you drive your dream. Now get financing as low as 1.99% APR on a new or used vehicle. Today, it's all about Zach. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is caught.
There you go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker. Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play. Oh, my goodness. I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way.
That is Wrestler! Wrestler! Whoa!
You know, back in the old days, welcome back to Victory Field. Jake Query along with Derek Schultz. It was such a treat when I was a kid, and the very rare occasion that perhaps you might be able to go to a baseball game and either stay late, and that meant that maybe your mom and dad let you sleep in an extra hour in the morning time, or maybe there was a school field trip where you got to go to a baseball game and miss school. Listen, if it comes to your education and you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I still want to get that college degree or maybe finish the degree that you left on the table, but I've got so much going on, or maybe even going to things like a baseball game here at Victory Field, no worries so long as that education is coming from WGU Indiana. That's because WGU is Indiana's largest online accredited university, and as a result, that means you are in charge of the schedule, because ambition never rests in WGU Indiana. With all of the classes that you need, wgu.edu/Indiana is where you can find it. Are you getting a terrible buzzing in your microphone, Derek, or is that mine?
Oh no, is that we've had to deal with the elements today, so I think part of that is just the wind. It is breezy, but the wind's been nice because it's kind of made it felt less soupy. But I know audio-wise, it's been a challenge.
Less soupy.
Well, that's what it feels like outside. It's like hot soup. Our Sage Move of the Week We haven't talked Pacers at all.
What's your favorite or least favorite kind of soup?
My favorite is like real New England clam chowder. But I wouldn't want real New England clam chowder on a day like today.
Real and fake New England clam.
Well, it's just different. It's different what you would get in actual New England by the water compared to like canned Campbell's New England clam chowder.
Well, I think the Campbell's clam that comes from New England, doesn't it?
No, I can't eat that. It's gross.
Okay.
It's gross. It's just not the same. It's hard to explain, Jake.
Okay.
Yeah, you're just not, your palate is not as elevated as mine food-wise.
Okay.
So you're a little less picky than I am when it comes to that. I'm glad the Pacers weren't picky about paying TJ McConnell. That's my WGU Indiana Sage move of the week. Look, I get it. I get the complaints about TJ McConnell. Oh, he's not athletic enough, and he's little, and he's got no ceiling. Sometimes you need guys who you know exactly what you're going to get from them, and the Pacers know exactly what they're going to get from TJ McConnell. He's fit in seamlessly. He had a tremendous season last year. And if you have to pay a little bit of a premium to bring that back, go ahead and pay it. I get what the Pacers are trying to do. They want to try to win now. Bringing back McConnell to me was a no-brainer. So I was glad. Usually I don't like players like that, Jake, so it's making me sound maybe different than usual. Kind of like Duarte, the draft pick. Usually I don't like the old draft picks. But I get what the Pacers are doing, so their moves, a lot of these have made sense to me, but I love the fact that they brought McConnell back.
I totally agree with that. I'm going to also make an honorary, I guess, if you will, nominee or, recognition for the Sage Move of the Week. And I want to go to Indiana University Athletics because of the fact that disingenuous for me to say that this is someone that I'm super close with, but many of my friends are. But Derek, you recall the story I told you about when I was at a Colts game and started throwing paper airplanes on the field.
Yes,
along
I know
with a buddy
this story.
of mine.
Yeah.
That buddy was Andy Hipskin, who was in medical school at the time, and we went to a Colts game when they were like 0-10. And we took the program and started making little paper airplanes. Hipskin could make a really good paper airplane, and we were throwing them until we could try to land one on the field. And some midway through the fourth quarter, some elderly woman behind us said, "That looks like so much fun." And so he made one for her, and he made a really good one. And she launched it, and as soon as she launched it, security's like,
"Get out!
There it is!" And they caught her, and this poor woman
Leave.
got ejected. I probably should have told that story about Andy, but Andy is a team physician for Indiana University Athletics and is the 45th recipient of the Distinguished Service Award.
Wow.
And in addition to that, Andy, who right now is going through his own medical journey, but Indiana University announcing that they are naming the Chief Medical Officer's Physician's Office after Andy Hipskin in Bloomington, which is very well deserved after 20 years now of serving the student athletes at Indiana University. So kudos to Indiana University and to Andy Hipskin, who really the only negative thing he's ever done in his life was launching this paper.
I guess so, yeah. That's incredible. It amazes me how many successful friends you have. You feel like you'd be more motivated. You know what I mean?
Well,
because you have friends that have like wings of buildings named after them, or Adam Alexander or Mac Engel.
I have very successful friends.
You do the IndyCar turns, I guess.
Would you list the two of us as friends?
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess
Best
that
friends.
means that you're there to balance things out.
Okay. I didn't know where you were going with that, so that was actually somewhat of a decent comeback, I guess. Love that play as well. While we're knocking out another feature, our friends at Love Heating and Cooling. It is hot outside. If you are having AC problems, give them a call. 353-2141, love-hvac.com. They have been in business since 1920. So they obviously know what they're doing. Chris and John Love are going to take care of you. Their entire crew are terrific.
Do you
All of their
recall
technicians
which one you ran into at the airport?
John.
That is correct, yes.
Which is what you know that was John, even if I accidentally said Chris on the show. You know that I know, because I texted you. I have the receipt.
If it makes you feel any better, Derek, I have a friend from high school. We have our 30-year reunion coming up. We'll see if we actually end up having it. But I do have one friend that called and wanted to know if they could possibly wear an earpiece with me on a mic so that when they're talking to one of the two Loves, I can tell them in their ear which one they're talking to. And I'm like, they don't look alike. Chris and John don't look alike anymore. I never thought they did, but my mom can't tell
they
them
do.
apart.
It's not impossible to tell them apart. But I knew that it was John at the airport. I mean, I didn't need the earpiece for that, even though I said it the wrong way. Yeah. I know we didn't talk very much Olympics because, full disclosure, I didn't really get into it. The 13-hour difference, and it wasn't super relevant to me this year.
You aren't alone, it appears.
How about the Team USA women kind of saving the day? They took home 60% of the medals won by the Americans. And on the final day, women's basketball and a couple of other events hustled to get 3 more gold medals to make it 39-38. So edged out China one, the total medal count going away, but you remember when you were a kid, because it was like this for me in the 80s and 90s, the medal count and winning the gold medal count was a huge deal.
No, it was.
You were watching USA Today. I remember getting the paper, and you'd open it up, and on the front page they'd have the gold, silver, bronze medal count, and it would be up to date from the night before or whatever else, and you'd kind of scan over it to see where everybody was. It used to be really important, and it's still important, I think, because we all feel pride in American athletics, and to win the gold medal count and to win the total medal count, I think was important. So congrats to the USA women for that.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a shirt from the shop.
And Cole did a great job.
The Olympics.
Cole didn't medal, but he did a great job.
No,
I think he finished 7th, which is insane for a 20-year-old. Or 6th, right? 6th.
Cole Hawker of Cathedral High School and Oregon. And he really kind of burst onto the scene to a lot of people, I think, in through the trials and then into the Olympics itself, right?
Yeah, I mean, kind of a talented young phenom, and it's been a minute since people said that about me, but I remember having a kind of a similar path like that, and it's an exciting time in your life to be going through that, for sure.
I'd like to know what exciting, phenomenal things you were accomplishing at the age of 20.
It was actually right before, the show started with us when I was 27, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So at 20, it hadn't really started yet. It was a little bit of a delayed
What were you doing at 20?
I was on academic probation at 20 at IU,
Okay.
yeah.
Was that when you got busted for something?
I'm not going to talk about that publicly on the air. That's something that I told you, I think, when we were in San Antonio, when we were on the Riverwalk and sharing personal stories about ourselves. No, that was New Orleans.
No, but we went to a pizza place in San Antonio and you got mad.
God, it was terrible. You don't get pizza in San Antonio. You get Tex-Mex or something like that.
We had Tex-Mex every night.
I want pizza, and we went to like the Sbarro of San Antonio, and it was horrible.
We went to an authentic, huge 24-hour Mexican restaurant that was picked and selected by me.
It was amazing.
It was good.
I picked that one.
No, I
picked the. What was it called?
You don't even remember the name of it. How could you have picked it?
No, I picked it because I looked on Yelp because I have it has to be 4 stars or more for me to go to it.
Uh-huh.
I'm a big Yelper.
You went to Yelp and you're like, this place is supposed to be pretty good. What's it called? Taco Bell? No.
I'll look it up because it's like the famous San Antonio Tex-Mex place. Because remember, our Uber driver knew exactly where it was.
He did. Yeah.
He knew what was going on. He was a big guy, so he enjoyed Tex-Mex. I think I'm confident in saying that he enjoyed it too.
Okay.
The Shop Spider Bowl bleep still to get to, and we've got a couple of other things like quick hits and some things to wrap up here for Victory Field. Well, it's at the very end of the show, so please do not touch me.
Punch Bug Red. Remember that game?
Like I said, do not.
Those are quick hits.
You can verbally abuse me and treat me like dirt. You cannot touch me.
It's a quick hit.
It is in our contracts. Greg has the contracts.
Okay.
He'll pull it out.
I've never signed one, so that's cool.
Okay, well, it's part of my contract. I'll walk right out of here. It's Corey and Schultz,
See that car over
ISC
there?
Sports Network.
Punch Bug Blue.
You're in trouble.
Okay.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Meet Kate. She has a lot to juggle. Family, work, it can lead to trying days and tired nights. But we know Kate, and at Indiana Members Credit Union, we know at some point her space at a premium life may change. IMCU is here to help Kate and you find your space. Now, add on or remodel with an introductory rate of 1.9% APR on a home equity line of credit. Today, it's all about Kate. Tomorrow, it's all about you. Because at IMCU, it's you that matters.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
The final stretch of Indians baseball is here, but the sights and sounds live on at Victory Field. From the crack of the bat to the play at the plate, don't miss your last chance to cheer on your hometown team. Get your tickets today at IndyIndians.com.
Back for a final time from Victory Field. It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. So good to be back at the ballpark after 2 years. And so glad to be doing live remotes again. I know we did one back in March with our friend Andy Albert and the folks at IndyCar Exchange up on the northeast side. But I hope we can start doing these more regularly.
See my sunglasses, Derek?
I have not. There have been a lot of fans that came by and maybe somebody grabbed them. I'm not sure. They thought, hey, that's Jake Query from the IndyCar Radio Network. I want his sunglasses.
Oh, there they are.
Final portion of the show brought to you by our friends
ground.
at IMCU, Indiana's Members Credit Union. Proud to support Query and Schultz. IMCU, a full-service financial institution offering free checking accounts with e-statements, low auto rates, and more. See what IMCU can do for you at imcu.com. Membership savings required, federally insured by NCUA. And IMCU joined us at the start of this month, so we're happy to have them on board. And they've got a feature coming up once football happens, so we'll have another
quick hits
weekly feature. I don't know if they want a piece of quick hits. I haven't asked them, but I'm sure they're going to want to jump on that too. But IMCU has been a great partner of ours, actually going way back to the, I know we bring up the radio days a lot, but the George Hill show back in 2013-14, IMCU was big into that, and they had George in their commercials. I've not had an email response about asking to be an IMCU commercial yet, but still efforting. So hopefully that happens at some point. Well, I have an appearance fee that comes with that, so that's not like all gratis or anything like that.
Okay.
But I think it's very reasonable for what I
gratis.
Yeah.
Okay. I think gratis is the word you're looking for.
Oh, is it not gratis? I've been saying gratis for years. Now I feel like an idiot.
Well,
this is like when I learned that it was hyperbole and not hyperbole.
It's hyperbolic.
Well, yeah.
Hyperbole.
Yeah. I said hyperbole a couple times in my early radio days.
I used to say naivety.
Is that not right? Naivete?
Naivete.
Okay. Yeah, but that's like a little like tone, like tomato.
How about this?
That's not a big deal.
How about this? What do you call Schwinn is a common brand of
bicycles.
Kawasaki and Honda makes, or Harley Davidson makes,
motorcycles.
I used to say motorcycles.
That's an Indiana thing, like Washington though. That's like a redneck thing, isn't it?
I don't know, but it's bicycle, so I'm like, why isn't it motorcycle?
I always just thought, I shouldn't say redneck, that's kind of mean. I always thought that was more of like a country term.
If a guy drives a Harley, he's a sickle jockey, right?
I've never heard
cycle jockey.
I've never heard sickle jockey before.
Have you heard cycle jockey?
Sickle jockey?
Have you heard cycle jockey? I've never heard cycle jockey. I've heard sickle jockey.
Here, do me a favor. Go down on Monument Circle on like a Saturday night and go up to one of those guys and say, hey,
you're
a sickle jockey, my man? And see what their response is. If they don't punch you right in the face, I'll be shocked.
Let me tell you something.
Probably something worse than that, honestly.
Some of I talked earlier about the loaded buses bachelorette party brigade in Nashville. That's kind of like what the sickle jockeys are in Indy. It's like everywhere.
It is kind of, it's loud, and I don't like loud. Bider Bull Bleep is brought to you by our friends at the Shop Indy, theshopindy.com, Broad Ripple, and Clay Terrace for their brick and mortar locations. You heard Brian earlier on the show. Join us here on site. Brian, Alex, they tag team that. Great dudes, and they've got all kinds of great offerings you can see up here with their new NIL line with all these college athletes. If you're new to Bider Bull Bleep, here's what we do. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth whether we bite or it's Bull Bleep. You ready?
I'm ready.
Statement 1, Sam Ehlinger will start a game for the Colts at some point this season. Buy it or Bull Bleep. I think you'd have to assume that's week 1 or week 2, right? With where we sit today with the Wentz injury?
Unless you hear that Carson Wentz is out for the year, Jacob Eason starts, and it gets off to the kind of start where they just realize that it's time to mail it in.
Yeah.
Knowing the way, Derek, how many quarterbacks started? The year that Peyton Manning was out, how many quarterbacks started?
3.
The year
Collins, Painter, Orlovsky.
Okay. When was Josh Freeman?
Yeah, that was the crazy year. Freeman, Lindley. I don't think Charlie Whitehurst actually started a game.
I think he did.
Did he start?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, he played. I know he played. I didn't know that he started. Because the thing about Freeman and Lindley is that I think Lindley actually started the game and Freeman finished it. So Freeman isn't technically a Colts starter.
Was that the Tolzien year?
No, that was the year before that. That was the ruptured kidney year. So Luck played some that year. But then Hasselbeck got hurt too. Am I right? Okay, right. I have the timing right.
Okay, all I'm saying is we got spoiled in this town into thinking because of Peyton Manning and watching him, and for that matter, Andrew Luck when he was healthy, that your quarterback goes out and your starting quarterback takes the snaps and that's that. A million things come into play.
You're right.
Confidence of a guy, health of a guy, scouting report, etc. I will say buy it. Sam Ehlinger starts one game.
I'm going to say Bull Bleep.
Okay.
I'm going to say Bob Bleep.
He's got to make the roster first.
Yeah, well, I think they'll carry 3, especially with Wentz and the durability issues. But I'm going to say Bob Bleep with where we sit now, but that could change because they clearly really like him, at least compared to Eason. Statement 2, Indiana football, number 17 in the preseason poll. First time ever as part of the preseason poll in the 30-whatever years that the USA Today has been doing it. Will finish as a top 25 team in the 2021 season. Buy it or Bob Bleep. Schedule's rough. They've got Cincinnati as a non-league game. It ain't easy.
I'll say Bull Schultz. Nothing against Indiana at all. I think they'll have a fine year. I just think that the way that the rankings pan out, you can't lose more than like 2 games in a row, or else you fall out. I'm going to say Bull Schultz. Don't hate me, Indiana fans.
I'm going to buy it. The roster's good. The talent
is good. No doubt.
It's hard because you can't look at it in a vacuum. Like, I don't know what Michigan is bringing back.
Derek,
I haven't really looked at it yet.
I say it more about –
or some of the other Big Ten teams.
I say it as more as a statement about other teams than I do about Indiana.
Yeah, I hear you. Because they have to go at Ann Arbor. I think they play at Kinnick and at Iowa. And I don't care if Michigan's down or if Iowa's up or down or whatever. Those are 2 really difficult places to play, especially Kinnick. I mean, that's a much – actually, the Big House is – usually referred to as an overrated place because it's a lot of people, but it's usually not loud and raucous like Kinnick is. But I'm going to buy
raucous. Did you say raucous? It's raucous.
No, I said raucous.
Okay.
Yeah, I said that right.
All right.
You don't have to jump on me and everything like that. Oh, I think we already know the answer to this one. Statement 3, buy it or Bob Bleep. Nashville is America's most exhausting city. I guess there are a couple of others that would fall here. Is Vegas more exhausting? New York is kind of exhausting. I love New York.
Now, when you say exhausting, do you mean like you're over it, or just it takes a lot of physical energy and therefore you're tired at the end of the day?
I think more the prior thing. Exhausting like, okay, I've been here for 3 days. New Orleans. I've been here for 2 nights or 3 days, 2 nights. I'm done. I'm ready to move on. Because I think Nashville, Vegas, and New Orleans are all kind of like that.
I would say New York is because there is a nonstop level of things to do in New York. So if you go for 5 days, but you're going all the time. Nashville or Las Vegas, after 2 or 3 days, you're like, okay, I kind of seen it all, and so you don't feel so bad about just going and hanging out in your room and catching up. You don't feel like you're missing anything if you decide to take a step back a little bit in those places. New York, there's always something going on. What are you smiling for?
You ready for quick hits? No. I was waiting for you to finish your thought. Okay. If you want to sponsor Quick Hits, Derek at QueryandSchultz.com, and we'd be happy to partner with you, and I'm sure my email inbox can – I don't know if it can handle all the emails I'm about to get from throwing that out there. Or at Schultz975 on Twitter. So Quick Hits, end of the show. We've got 3 minutes left, just a couple of things to go over. Notre Dame also in that poll, AP preseason AP preseason top 25 poll at number 7, Indiana at 17. Valparaiso changes their name from Crusaders to Beacons. I like it.
I kind of like Beacons.
I like Lighthouses.
Crusaders, I will say this.
No one called them Crusaders anyway, right?
But just as Valpo. I don't necessarily, I don't want to get into some big political, theological debate here. I didn't know that Crusaders was offensive. But if they decided to change it, they're a private school. If they decided to change it, then I thought Beacons, once they explained it with the lighthouse and whatnot, it was kind of cool.
Apparently some hate groups that started calling themselves the Crusaders, and I don't go into the dark spaces of the internet to find that out, so I don't know how many people were cognizant of that. So that's the reason that Valpo gave changing their name.
Okay.
Final thing, Deshaun Watson officially out for Houston's preseason opener. The Texans will not say whether or not he'll play in the preseason at all. I can't imagine that he will.
I don't think he will.
Right?
There's too much. Until he is completely exonerated and or whatever,
which is not going to happen.
Until there's a resolution, I don't see how you do it.
When are we talking resolution here? This legal process, it's going to take months, right? But this asking price for him, Jake, I think teams are willing to take a flyer, but if you're Houston, you're just going to have to take 40 cents on the dollar. You're either going to have to risk it and lose him for nothing or take 40 cents on the dollar right now. It's a tough place to be in because to some extent, even though nobody's been facing this Deshaun Watson situation, the Pacers with the Oladipo trade and previously the Paul George trade, kind of the same thing where everybody knows you're going to get rid of them. You're not keeping them. So it's a buyer's market, but the buyer has to beware too because you don't know whether Deshaun Watson's ever going to play down in the NFL ever again.
Did you see,
much
by the
less
way,
this season
during BP that a home run ball was hit here and it's got
some scuffs
on it?
No, I didn't see that
from the bat. It's kind of cool, isn't it?
Want to thank everybody with the Indians for having us out here. Joe Zawacki, Randy Lewandowski.
I need to give it to a kid. Should I give it to this kid over
Shane,
here?
Howard, everybody
this kid a
associated with the
baseball.
organization. Thanks so much for having us out here. Also, thanks to our great sponsors, Chateau Kitchens, The Shop Indy, Bailey & Wood Financial Group, 855-350-HOME, BAWFG.com for Bailey & Wood, their golf outing on Thursday, which is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for that.
This Thursday?
Yep, WGU Indiana. Love that play, and our friends at Love HVAC and everybody that make this show possible. Thanks to Rob Lynch. Thanks to Jake Morris, Jordan Shue in the ISC Truck, and Greg Rakestraw. For Jake Query, I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us as well here on the ISC Sports Network. And check us out on Twitter at Schultz975, at Jake Query, and our YouTube page,
I'm not doing a salute, Derek.
/Query and Schultz. Well, thanks so much for not doing the salute. We'll see you next week on the show, you guys. Take care.